What's up, everybody? Lefty here, episode number 4 with Jake Pilla. I'm super excited for this one because I met Jake early in my DJ career. He was a bartender slash security guard. This guy was just fucking doing everything and everybody loved him. And for me, he was just so cool. Every time I talked to him, he was always down to earth. Him, his dad, they were always treating us really well. So being here with him today, getting to talk to him a little bit about his fight career, how he got into it, I'm just excited to be able to get a chance with him. So Jake, thank you for spending some time with me today. I know you got a bunch of savages inside ready to do some killing. So
if they're in there getting work, I'll get in there.
Yeah, nice,
I appreciate you having me, man.
Yeah, of course, bro. So honestly, I got a bunch of questions, but the first one I kind of want to know is like, how did you grow up? Like, how did you get into this whole deal, man?
As far as the fighting and stuff goes, my parents were like super involved and connected, and like we were very close my whole life. My family's like very tight knit, and so when I was little, we moved to Barica, and I know my father and my mom were probably bullied, or back in that day it was a lot more common, and so they put me in a kung fu because we were moving schools. I was really little. I wasn't a very aggressive kid. I wasn't as tall as I am now, and, But so they put me into martial arts. It was just something that I fell in love with, and I never played like baseball or football or little league or anything like that. As soon as I kind of hit the kung fu mark as a little kid, it was something I like grew to love and excel at. And then by the time I was like 9, I was into coaching it and doing that side of things. So I was in a martial arts school 5 days a week regularly from the time I was probably like 11, 12 till now. And so like growing up, it was, super simple. Me, my mom, my dad, my little brother, it was pretty regular, man. I had like such a great childhood. Like looking back, I had a ton of fun with my mom, a ton of fun with my dad. Like, I'm not somebody who looks back and says like, oh, I had some hard life or things were tough. Like, I'm so lucky and so blessed that I like grew up with such support and love, and like I have like the best memories of my life growing up as a kid, and I know some people like battle with that. Like, I'm on the other side. Like, I'm very blessed for what I have.
Nice. Nice. What would you say, like, what was, like, when you think back to those early days of getting into the martial arts and, your parents taking you, like, do you have one specific moment that, like, sits with you that, like, jumps out of, like, your early, like, the first time you got into, like, a match or something like that?
So I'd say, like, one of the first, like, notable moments for me is I was, like, super little, probably, like, 7, 8 years old, and I was one of the older kids in the class that I was in. And I remember the head instructor like calling upon me to like demonstrate for the room. And I was like, oh, like, okay, like I've been working hard, and showing up. And then afterwards he pulled me over and he had me start to help one of the younger kids. And I felt like, like it was like the coolest thing to be like him and be coaching and be like kind of like an assistant instructor. And like, like it was so fun to be able to like play with this kid and help him and like, play an active role even at that age. I just like, it was really cool to be helpful and have value and stuff like that. And so like I remember like after that, like it became my next goal to be a coach there and to like be one of the real assistants, not just that one time. And then that spiraled into me coaching there, 5 days a week for years.
Nice. So you always kind of were attracted to the coaching part once you got a taste of it. You really enjoyed helping.
I love that, and I love the martial arts side. I love the effort side. I love the fact that like I'm lucky as to where I did do traditional martial arts. Most schools just hand out belts. My instructor wasn't really like that. Where I worked. It was. I remember him sending kids home without belts and being like, I did not want to be one of those kids. It rains in my head today. My mom used to tell me all the time, like if I got my report card, right? If I had anything below an A, I was like, Mom, look, a B. She was like, a B is average.
Yeah.
You're not average.
Right.
Like, I don't want to see it. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And so it became kind of like, almost like a motto for my whole life. Like, she never allowed me to be average. And so in a room for Kung Fu and martial arts, it's not a team aspect. I can't have a team slowing me down, or like how much effort I put in is always going to show. And I love that. I love that I could push myself. I could excel. I could work hard, achieve belts. Like it was physically obtainable, and it made sense. Like the more I put in, the more I was going to get. And so I enjoyed the honesty of it.
Nice. So your mom was always pushing. She's like, there's no way you're going to do average and feel like I'm okay with that.
Yeah, no, she has been on me, and I'm grateful. Half the things that she said to me my whole life, I hear every day in my head. I pick that up. Don't leave that there. Don't waste a trip. Don't, just little things. She's my biggest supporter. She's my best friend. I don't know where I'd be without her, especially now in my life. And, but she has never let me slide. I'll tell you that. She, I'd fight anybody you put in front of me except her. Like, I don't think I'd win. Yeah, she's tough. Anybody who knows my mom will vouch. If you are what I like is that if you're around my mom, you are not allowed to slide. You know, you're in the presence of somebody who's gonna, you know, withhold you to a higher standard. I love that.
Yeah. How do you feel that has carried over here now with the, you know, your team and everyone you coach here?
I feel like it's a huge part of like who I am and what I emulate. You know, with the team, with the guys, you know, there's a way that I believe that we should act and treat each other and portray ourselves and portray the team. And so I think it all starts at the top, right? And I don't think I'm above anybody here. I just think it happens to be my school and I opened it, but they all learned in some sense from me and we're learning together. But I hold them to a level of excellence that most places won't. I hold them to an accountability level that most places don't. If you are in my room, you're responsible for more than just you. You're responsible for the betterment of everybody in my room. You know, and if you're not going to uphold that, I don't want you here. Your money means nothing to me. It doesn't matter how tough you are, cool you are. It's no good. If you're not good for the room, you're not good for my business.
Right.
You know, and so her making sure that I was always on my toes and I always treat people the right way and I always act the right way and please and respectful and all these things. That's how I guide my team. That's how I kind of guide my whole life, the way I act, you know, my morals.
Right. Yeah, no, and I definitely see it, like being here recording for you guys, like everybody's so nice, everybody's very welcoming, but like the second that bell rings, it's like they're trying to be just as savage as they can be, you know, in the moment.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, so it's really cool to watch. I definitely understand what you mean by how your mom has taught you that and how it's carried over to the room. Like, I definitely see it. So, you know, you kind of answered this. I was going to ask you who was the most influential when it came to, you know, you becoming a fighter, but it seems like
mom and dad.
Yeah,
they both.
Yeah.
You know, my mom hates that I fight, but she supports me. You know, dad on the other hand loved that I fought and thought it was like the coolest thing ever. You know, so it was very productive. My mom says all the time that if she knew going back, she would have put me in dance. But if she had, I would have tried to be the best dancer in the world. You know,
right.
You know, so I blame her. I'm like, why would you do that? Why would you put me in if you didn't want me to fight? Come on, you know, like, you set me up here. You know. But I'd say definitely the most influential would be, you know, her and my dad. They both held it down for a long time. A lot of support, a lot of love. You know?
Was there ever a moment where you had the conversation with them about, like, I don't know where this is going, but I know that if I just keep it up? Or was there ever like did you ever doubt, or did they ever doubt? Was there ever a moment where you kind of had to like have a hard conversation with them about this?
I think it's less that either of them ever doubted me, because I truly don't believe, you know, my mom says it all the time. If I want something bad enough, I'll get it. Doesn't matter what it is. If I say to you, hey, I'm going to get this thing, like I will figure out some way to obtain it.
Right.
I think it's more so that my mom was with my dad, because like my father was just like gung-ho, chase that dream regardless of kind of the side effects. My mom, on the other hand, is we'll say moralistic, and I think she just doesn't want to see me go through the highs and the lows and put my body through things. And I think she would never discourage me. She's the first one there. She'll be at my medical. She has been at every appointment that I needed. She's gone above and beyond. But what mom wants to see their kid get in a cage and fight, you know? And so like, I get it. She doesn't love it, but she loves that I'm doing everything I can to chase my dream. And she's, you know, for as long as I've known, she will put herself out 1,000,000 times to make sure I'm able to chase my dreams. And like, luckily I'm not at a point where I would need her to do that, but she would 100 times over.
Right. You know? Right. It must be a little weird for her to see you in a cage smiling your ass off, having a good time. She's sitting out there panicking her ass off.
She hates it. I feel terrible for her. I really do. Because it's, you know, like, even as a coach, when my guys go in there, I have anxiety. I'm stressed out. I'm like sweating. I'm in the back, like more nervous than them. I'm like, oh, I can only imagine being my mom. Like, that poor lady in that moment has to like deal with all this. But I've kept a lot of the fight short. You know, you know, like, you know, we had a running joke with my mom in my first fight. She was like, you got a minute. Only a minute. That's all you have. And the fight was 59 seconds.
Nice.
And so I got on, I was like, Mom, it was less than a minute. And she's crying. She's like, that's not what I meant. You know, like, and we were, you know, and so like, it's just been one of those running jokes. I'm like, how long do I got? She's like, I don't want to talk about it this time. You know, she laughs even now. The other day, I'm like, hey, you know, we're going to be signing contracts and we move forward with the fight. She was like, tell me when the fight's closed. I don't even want to think about it right now. You know? But I respect it. I get why she's upset. Stressed out, you know.
The anxiety must be through the roof, you know, seeing you from growing all the way up and then watching you walk into a cage being like, I'm about to go fuck this guy up. Mom, I know you're there, but like,
you know, it's hard too, you know, especially when if let's say you've never been to a fight, if you then befriend some fighter, no matter amateur, pro, top in the world, when you go to that fight or when you watch that fight, there's a different level of involvement and investment into it. Where like you can watch two of the best guys in the world battle it out and, you know, you don't feel anything towards it.
Right.
You watch somebody you know and love, the anxiety of them getting hurt, and this is something you care about, and you care about their dreams and their goals, and everything that they want in life is important to you in some sense.
Yeah.
Becomes a lot heavier.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. I mean, I felt that to small effect when I watched your last fight. You know, I ordered it because I was at a gig, and I just remember watching it. And I'm just feeling like, all right, here he comes. You know, like, and like, you know, I would say we know each other, but the type of anxiety that I had for you at that moment, I'm like, I've seen you throw guys out the bar. You know what I mean? Like, I've seen you do similar stuff.
Yeah,
you know?
more fights there than I have, you know, professionally.
So, but it was just, I definitely understand what you mean, and like being your mom, just, absolutely, yeah. What was your first fight like?
My first fight was pretty awesome.
59 seconds, right?
Yeah. I like went in there. I was scared as could be, super excited. It was back at Rockingham Park for Combat Zone. I couldn't even tell you what day. It was life changing. You know, I went in there. I felt super comfortable. I felt like it was where I belonged. You know, like touching gloves in that moment was probably one of the coolest things like you ever feel in your life. And then I always tell people like that's like the drug. And so like that first second when you touch gloves and everything is silent, the crowd's going crazy, but you don't hear anything. Everything's silent, and you're in this like slow motion, like everything's coming at once. That rush I've been chasing, you know, for the last 10 years.
Yeah.
It was great. My coaches came together. Everything in my life was going really well at that time. It was pretty cool.
Yeah. I mean, just from seeing the crowd react in your last fight, I could imagine walking in where it's like, all right, some people know me. They don't know what I'm about to do. I know what I'm about to do.
Yeah.
But just that initial, like, this is my first fight, like, interim.
Yeah.
When I saw his fight recap, and then I saw Joey's, and then, you know, I'm talking to some of the other guys about how they're planning fights. Just the nervous excitedness that they have about it all. Just, I feel like you can't really relate unless you put yourself in that position.
Yeah. You're going into war, and you know you are. You know, I talk to guys all the time, like an altercation outside, anywhere in the world, will never be more than 3 minutes. First minutes, you just two people tripping at each other. All of a sudden, maybe one's pushing, the other one's pushing. Normally, you get 1 or 2 punches in, and you're broken up. Really, at the end of the day, you could go in like this, and it's done in 20 seconds. You're pulled off, they're pulled off. They're going to lock the doors, and me and you are going to go at it, and there's nobody that's going to step in to save us. And so there's a whole different level of anxiety. Like, you know, if we were out and I shoved you, you only have 30-second window to feel anxiety, to then react, to then have your brain firing.
Yeah.
It's like if you knew I was going to come in that bar 3 months from now, and you're just waiting for me to come. And that's where the anxiety sits. Yeah. You're waiting and waiting and waiting. It's like, hurry up and fight. And then as soon as it's over, you're like, wait, that's it? No, send me back, you know? But it's definitely a funny window. Going from like my first fight to now, Calvin Cater one time said to me, he's like, every time you fight, you only fight for more people. He goes, remember that. It's only going to get bigger from here. And I remember being like, oh my God, like I was stressed about this many people. Like I don't want anybody else to ever come. But it's true. You know, the anxiety will never stop. You know, the fear of fighting or the fear of failure, or, you know, kind of call it whatever you want. Like that'll always be there, but fear is necessary. Fear is good. You know, you can't, anybody who goes into a fight and isn't a little bit nervous or scared is lying. Right. They're either lying or there's like a real problem there.
Right. Like, you know? Like, yeah.
And it's one thing to be confident and to be, you know, like have faith in your hard work and to leave, you know, no stone unturned and have no doubt in what you're about to do. But it's a fight. At the end of the day, you're always one punch from being knocked out. It doesn't matter how tough you are. The best guys in the world to the lowest level guys.
Right.
You got to know it's there. And there is a respect factor to that. Every guy, you know, you listen to guys like Donald Cerrone, to GSP. GSP used to throw up before he fought. He's one of the greatest of all time.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it is natural, and it's your body telling, you know, like prepping you for war. So
right.
You get better at handling nerves, you know, and a lot of that too is first time you have nerves and your arms are heavy and like your legs aren't really working. You're in the back trying to hit pads and you're like, why am I so tired? And like, you're just not used to it. By the 7th, 8th, 9th time, you're like, all right, I get it. My arms are a little heavy. They're going to be, you know, like my body's starting an anxiety dump. You can start to map out how you feel. And it's not as frightful anymore.
Right.
You know, when you become accustomed to it, it's not as scary.
Right. You can anticipate what's coming because you've experienced it so many times, so it's not building up more anxiety inside of you.
Yeah, and when you feel it, you can recognize it instead of like, you know, being afraid of it or running from it or like getting over anxiety. Or like, I know what this is. I know what's going on. I know I'm comfortable here. Right. You know, and that like kind of, you know, self-talk that you can walk yourself through goes a long way.
Right.
Hey, I know where I am. Hey, this is super normal. Hey, you know, like this is where I belong. Hey, things like that. Like, you you know, you gotta walk. So what John Strong used to say as he's walking in the cage, like, I gotta get the bitch out of me. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
It's like,
yeah.
you know, it's kind of how it is.
Yeah. I remember watching a Mike Tyson interview, and he would talk about how he would cry before a fight,
Mm-hmm.
but you would never imagine that from him, you
Yeah.
know, saying that. So, yeah, it seems like the type of emotions that you can't really control until you've experienced it a few times.
Oh yeah, and even at that point though, you know, like your control might be crying out in the back. Your control might be throwing up. Like it is a level of control, but that anxiety spikes for everybody. You know, like best guys to worst guys. You know, it's who's gonna show up what night.
Right. You kind of answered. What are you thinking on the way to the cage? I remember, you know. What would you say your best fight moment, like one that jumps out at you that you truly enjoy when you think about it, brings a smile?
My cartwheel kick.
Yeah.
That was so cool.
Yeah.
And like what was cool about it is I always like to have a game plan, but I always like to like map out my first 3 strikes. And my first, you know, engagement in the fight is generally pretty mapped out. And so in that fight, and like this is not a brag, it was the truth. We had worked that cartwheel kick. The kid that I was fighting, he knew I was going to shoot. We thought it'd be a fun game plan. And I thought at the time in my head, like the kid that I originally had as an opponent, I said, if we go to the ground, I know my jiu-jitsu is way better than him. So like, why not throw it and have some fun, right? Why not like, you know, roll the dice. He's
not gonna beat me if we go to the ground. So why not?
Well, so like, and the cards were supposed to align. It was supposed to be my first pro fight. I was like amped and ready for it. Felt good, in good shape. Like, and we had worked that cartwheel kick for fun. Well, the day of weigh-ins, that kid pulled out. And so then I'm 3 pounds off of weight. Long story short, they bring in some other kid who's 10 pounds heavier, who his opponent pulled out the day of weigh-ins. And so like, it wasn't the same matchup. None of it like worked the same. It wasn't a pro fight anymore. That kid was AME. Would only take it if we stayed AME. But he was like undefeated, had a couple kickboxing fights. He was pretty good. And we ended up weighing in like 8 pounds difference or something like that. And I had come up in weight. No one really knew at the time, but I had come up in weight like 8 or 9 pounds that day, because they called me and said, your opponent's out. Come up to, you know, I was going to 35. Come up to 45. We'll find you somebody. You know, I'm 45. He's like 54. Oh. And I was like, at that point, I was like, I already worked this hard. Like, I can't back out now. Right. We got to run this. And so like we had this like funny, I was telling everybody, I was like, I'm going to cartwheel kick him. I thought it was like kind of funny.
Yeah.
Like, what are the odds? And so the game plan, it was me and my former coach, Curtis. And Curtis was the man. Love him to this day. We're still good friends. The goal was do it in the first minute. Worst case scenario, I end up in a scramble. I should be able to get back to my feet or win the jiu-jitsu battle of things to work to a neutral position.
Right.
Let's go out with some flash. If it's going to be an AME fight too, like let's have some flash.
Yeah.
And then to be out there and like watching the fight back, I sink a guillotine and I let it go because I want to stand back up. Because like I told everybody, I'm like kind of laughing like, oh, you rushed me. I thought I was going to have time. And so we stood back up and I was like, oh, fuck it. I got to throw this thing. And so I threw it like half hoping, half like really committed. And when it hit him and he hit the ground, I just like could not even believe it happened, you know? And so it was pretty cool.
Yeah. I watched the video of it when I was making it. And I was just like, bro, that's so vicious. Like cartwheel kick and then the follow up. It was just, I was like, damn, like it looked picture perfect, bro. Like you put it together really well.
Well, it was cool because we had like really trained it. It wasn't like just something that like, oh, I was fucking around and hit once. Like if you went on my like Instagram to the weeks before, there's like a promo video of me throwing it in the promo video, and then like a pad video from 3 weeks. And you know, like you can kind of trace it back, but like to hit it was really cool.
Yeah. It's not an easy thing to do on an opponent that last minute change. Like
I mean, it's like it's a Hail Mary anyways. You know what I mean? To throw a cartwheel kick, like you got to really be committed and kind of confident, and so like to have all the switches and be like, no, let's just go for it. You know, good.
Yeah. That's awesome, bro. That's awesome. How do you find yourself staying focused between work life and then fight life and then everything that's going on? Like, how do you keep yourself focused on everything?
Honestly, I'd say the biggest thing that saved me in the past 6 months is I write it all down. You know, and in a totally honest sense, I write everything I can down now. I carry a notebook with me everywhere I go. Doesn't matter if it's for the gym, for solar, for fighting, for my mom, my house, my to-do. It does not matter. I write it all down. You know, to me, I have, you know, so many things kind of going on the personal side of things that is too much to keep all in my head. And so it's been like super helpful. Like I have like 2 lists, one that's like a journal to do and one that like today I need to get done. And so instead of like having to think about it and stress and anxiety, I wake up in the morning, it's on that. I just go right through it. I start crossing off, hitting what I can, do what I can. And that's been like a huge help. And then on top of it, you know, like owning the gym and like training at the gym, I've set it up so that I'm only technically teaching a couple days a week and a couple classes a week. But I enjoy being here. And if I'm not here, I'm blessed enough that the team is going to be like, hey, coach, where are you? Hey, coach, what are you doing? Like, coach, what's up today? Where were you? You know? And they hold me accountable. And that goes a long way. And, you know, same thing with like my mom, my little brother, my family. Like, I have to be accountable. I can't just, you know, sit around and let life kind of beat me up. And so staying focused, you know, like that is my job, you know? And so I write it down, I wake up and I attack it, you know, kind of the best of my ability that day. And there are days where the list doesn't get a lot done, you know, but there are days where I cross off what would normally take me 2 weeks. And I'm like, oh, what a day, you know?
Right.
I stick to a schedule. I know, I ask my coaches, like, how often should I be here? When, you know, like I'm good at knowing what I don't know. And so the coaches that I have, like, we sit and we go over, okay, this is what I'm gonna do for strength and conditioning. This is what I'm gonna do for pad work. This is what I'm gonna do for kickboxing. This is what I'm gonna do for my jiu-jitsu over the next 5 weeks. So I have a tentative schedule and I just have to follow, you know, whether I want to be there, don't want to be there. I could be having a great day or a bad day, you know, like I'm, you know, I use Coach John for a reference. I've been down to him a million times where I'm in tears hitting pads. He's like, don't worry about it, buddy. Just keep moving. You know, and I'm working through stuff on my own that he's just helping me work through.
Right.
But I'm still getting better. I'm still in the, you know, I'm there progressing in some way. I'm working through my stuff and getting good pad work and getting good rounds.
Right.
And so having all these people to help me stay accountable and keeping notes and trying to keep myself on track goes a long way.
Yeah. I saw something you have inside that says, when it gets hard, learn how to rest, not quit. So as you're saying what you're saying, I'm like, oh, this dude's just structured. Like, he's just not going to give himself any slack regardless of how hard it gets.
Yeah, you can't.
Yeah.
You know, have you ever heard the comparison of the 2 guys chopping down trees?
No, I haven't heard this one.
Okay, so 2 gentlemen chop down trees every day. 1 gentleman leaves every day for lunch, takes an hour-long lunch, comes back and finishes the day. The other gentleman never takes a lunch. The guy who leaves for the hour lunch always cuts down more trees than the other guy, right? And the other guy can't figure it out. He's like, I'm working an extra hour a day. Why can't I cut down what you can cut down? This doesn't make sense. So he sees a guy taking lunch and he follows him over. The guy eats his lunch and he sharpens his axe every day, right? And because he takes that time to make sure he's doing the things he should be and fixing his stuff, he's always chopping down more trees.
Right.
And so I'm always trying to take that, you know, if I need 10 minutes, I need 10 minutes. It is what it is. But I'll give myself time to work through something or feel my emotions or have my good days or bad days, as long as I'm continuing to, you know, sharpen the axe and move forward.
Right. That's the biggest part, right? It's continue to sharpen the axe.
Yeah. Most people don't. You're complacent, you know?
Yeah.
My thing is, like, it doesn't matter what element of my life it is. Like, I have goals set. I have things written down. Like, and there are things I will accomplish, you know, things that, you know, I don't have much of a choice. I need to, you know, work through and handle.
All right. Yeah. All right, I just got to adjust this because you slid a little, so I got to keep it. No, you're good, bro. I'm still learning how to do all this. You know, I'm episode 4 in. So, is there certain things you say to yourself when you're going through these hard moments that kind of help you snap? Like for me, when I'm running and shit gets absolutely difficult, and I'm just like telling myself, your body feels fine, your mind is just being a bitch. Like, I'm always kind of like, I chose to be here. I want to be here. I want to be doing this right now. There's no other place I'd rather be than doing this, no matter how I feel. So do you have like little things?
Yeah, I mean, I get to do this. You know, most people have to wake up and hate their lives and their days and their jobs, and I'm not knocking anybody. But I get to do this. I get to wake up. I get to chase this. And so I remind myself that a lot. You know, I also, like, you know, heavy is the crown. If I want to be good, I have to put in the work.
Right.
There is no, you know, no shortcuts in this business.
Yeah.
You know, a lot of that, a lot of like, hey, like, I belong here. I'm worthy of being here. Like, things that just keep me like, you know, the more I tell myself I belong here, the more that I'm going to believe it, you know, no matter what, whether it's true or not. That self-belief goes a long way. And so, like, I do a lot of those things too, with that, like, self-motivation, self-positive talk. Like, a lot of that, you know, if I'm on a run and I'm dogging, I'm like, oh, I'm going to the 3rd round. Like, hey, you're feeling good. You're feeling great. You know, like, this kid isn't doing what you're doing. Like, you have this, you know, and a lot of that, like, just self-talk up.
Right. So what, obviously you have the fight coming up, you have all these things going on. do you have a goal that's something you're chasing? Like, I know obviously, we could talk about a belt, we could talk about all these things,
Yeah.
but on a day to day, like, is there a certain goal that just sits in your mind that you're like, I need to achieve it for this reason, be it your mom or, just something?
I just want to be the best version of me I can be. Like truly, like, and that sounds funny, but like, whether it be in fighting, whether it be like with my family, whether it be a coach, like, I want to do things at the highest level of my ability. I believe that with the things I'm doing and the way that my life is structured, I can make a difference. And so I want to do that at a very high and proficient level. And I want to kind of give back as much as I can. I think Max Holloway said it one time where he said, it doesn't really matter if I have the belt. I just want my name, put up as one of the greatest, like in the conversation somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
And that's kind of how I feel. I don't think a belt could define me, or a moment could define me, or, one time frame of my life or one fight. But collectively, like, I want my name up there. I want to be known for all the great things that I've done.
Right. I see I'm definitely going to butcher this quote that I saw in there, but like the difference between a hero and a legend that you have on the door there going into the bathroom, where just basically
I have like a 25 around here. I want to mix them up.
Yeah. Well, I mean, just overall, like what you're saying makes sense because like you're trying to etch your name in history in a way that's going to, like you did the best of version of you each day, you know? So when it comes to...
Hold up, guys.
You kind of, I'll cut it.
Yeah, who is it?
What would you say your proudest moment as, Jake outside the ring is? And then what would you say your proudest moment inside the cage has been?
It's a good question. Proudest moment inside the cage could potentially have been maybe my first fight, just because like you never know if you're gonna get there, so that was like really like a defining moment for me. And then I'd probably say my first pro win was like pretty defining, because I got to like really say like, hey, like not only did I do it a couple times, I tried out, I got good enough to have a fan base, to have a following, to have my own logos and t-shirts, and I started to etch out certain things in my life and like feel like I was leaving a legacy. And so that was probably, like on the mats, or like in the realm of fighting, that was probably my biggest moment.
Yeah.
Off the mats would be my little brother graduating college. That would be my best moment yet.
How did that feel watching him?
Oh, dude, like a lifelong dream. He's always been my best friend, and like we had great parents, but I looked out for him quite a bit, and so it's always been important for him to chase his dreams and get everything he wanted. And that kid kills it. He like graduated early, like did it without any loans. Like he went like above and beyond what anybody I've ever seen do. Like a good example of like doing it at the highest level. And so like seeing him walk that stage, like seeing all the work he put in, like hours and hours and hours of being like, I can't, I got homework, I can't, I got homework, I can't. Like he was so disciplined. Like it was pretty groundbreaking.
Nice. So how old is the difference?
7 years.
7 years.
Yeah, he's a little baby.
Yeah. So you feel like a grown man in comparison to seeing him.
Kind of. He's like 6'2", so like
Okay,
it takes a little of that out of it. But yeah, no, I do though. Like we've been side by side his whole life.
Right. And I would feel like you most, like, as you fought, he's probably feeling all the butterflies that your mom talks to you about. He must, I don't.
He's always right there. He's not very loud or like flashy, as I would say. Like the only time I ever see him riled up is at my fights. He gets like amped. I never see it. He is like so respectful and calm and collected all the time. Not over there.
Yeah.
He gets after it. It's pretty cool.
Nice. I mean, it must be great to watch, just knowing how he is outside of your fights, and then seeing him that day. It must. And I guess I would ask this, like, does it calm the nerves or does it fuel the nerves as you're walking out, seeing him be so out of his shell, out of his...
Bit of both.
Yeah.
Like, because it also, like, it gives you that, hey, it's on right now. Like, he's right here. Like, I got to handle this shit. Like, I'm not a very aggressive person by nature. Like, I don't like to yell. I don't like to get mad. It's just not my style. I don't really like confrontation. But when they fuck with my little brother, then I can turn it on. It definitely helps. It's a level of anxiety because, like, obviously I would want to shield them from anything that could ever go wrong. But there is quite a fire as I walk down you know, that walk in there right there. And I'm like, hey, like, I got this, you know,
Yeah.
like, you know, it helps remind me that I'm like that confident. You know, I've put in that much work. Like looking at him, like, you're going to know if I'm lying to you or not. Like if anybody in the world knows it's my little brother,
Yeah.
I'm going to tell him I got this because I mean it, you know?
Right.
And so like, it fuels the fire.
Nice. Nice. I have one back here I wanted to ask before I went to the other ones. Is this something you didn't pay attention to when you were younger that you feel you had to learn the hard way as you got older?
In fighting or in like the world?
Just in life in general.
I would
Like,
say I didn't know a lot about, I would just say how am I going to explain this appropriately? The ins and outs of the business side of life. I don't think they taught very well when it comes to taxes and checkbooks and credit and stuff like that. Like, I do wish that I had maybe paid a little bit more attention. I also don't feel like I ever had like a opportunity. You know, there was never a class that we were given or like,
yeah.
and then they're like, hey, figure it out. And so
Mhm.
like, I definitely wish that there was some more like a guidance growing up that I was like, oh, this is how you figure out your tax scores and stuff like this. And this is all stuff I've learned over the years. But it took me a long time. You know, it was
Yeah.
definitely something I wish I knew earlier or put more focus in earlier because you don't, when you are, you know, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, like you don't understand, you know, the magnitude of how that's going to be in 3 or 4 years.
Right.
You know, and so I definitely was on the late end of learning all that stuff. And plus, you know, as a fighter, we don't really make that much money all the time.
Yeah.
But I mean, now obviously I have the gym. Things have moved quite differently, and I've been forced to figure it out. But I definitely wish I paid a lot more attention to that back then. You know?
I feel that completely.
Yeah, geez.
Yeah. When I started getting into business after Lowell Nights and everything that we did there, it was like, wow, we made all this money and we blew it stupidly. Like,
Of
after,
course.
you know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like,
dude.
absolutely. We are like,
Back then, man, it was coming in like that. Though.
like,
I remember.
yeah, it was insane. So after that whole phase kind of wore out, I was like, what the fuck did I do with my money?
Way to
Like, where,
go.
you know?
Yeah.
And then you sit back and you're like, oh, what's this investment thing? Maybe I should do some of that. You know, like,
Dude, yeah.
So,
Man.
like, I definitely get it because, like, now I told my girlfriend, right? So I'm obviously now, like, I do the DJ stuff still, but now I'm focusing on media. And I told her, so like, I do some investing on the side where it pays me monthly. And this monthly, I told her, I was like, the only way I'll bring on someone else to help me is once the investments have brought on enough money so that like it's paying for this person every month. And I'm not like, oh, I need to bring in another client. I need to, you know, like the anxiety that it builds. So I absolutely get
trying to get there to balance the gym. I get it.
Yeah.
You know, that way, like, anything comes in, it's just new equipment and new, you know, like, but it takes time, man.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's, I don't know about you, bro, but like, I barely know anyone who knows how to do it right. Like, everybody's like, yeah.
Nobody, unless you go to like an actual tax guy, or, and even then, like, they don't know the ins and outs of DBA versus LLC versus, you know, like S Corp or like, you know, kind of what you're getting into. And it's a lot.
Yeah.
You know,
yeah. Just payroll, that whole,
it's a whole other world.
Yeah. I've always been like, cash. You know, like, cash.
Dude,
here you go.
Yeah, same. Especially bartending, man. You know, like it's coming in fast and going out just as fast. You know?
Yeah. Because I don't know about you, man, but I always felt like, oh, next day I got it. I'll get it again. It's coming, no problem. You know?
I just got it. I know I can do it again. Look, I'm better than I was yesterday. If I did that, I can do today.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Oh, I totally get it.
Yeah. So, if you had to start all over again from the beginning, day one, and you could only take one lesson that you've learned so far from all your years of life, not just, you know, fighting, but in general, and have to do it all over again, what would be the one lesson you'd take with you?
Stay close to home. Yeah, I would say stay close to home. People that put in the work for you, the people that love you, put it right back into them. You know, again, I'm super blessed at the family that I have and the home that I have. So, like, staying close to there, you know, it has always led me in the right direction. It has always been for my benefit and for the betterment of me, you know. And so, you know, it'd be to stay close to home. You know, there are times in my life where maybe I trusted the wrong people or gone on ventures I shouldn't have, or, you know, had people around me that shouldn't have been around me, you know, and I didn't know any better, you know. But if I stayed a little bit closer to home, probably wouldn't have had to deal with a lot of that. Or if, you know, my mom was like, I don't really like him, I was like, Mom, come on, you're crazy. If I had just been like, well, she said, you know, sorry, gotta go, you know, like, it probably would have served me a lot of justice.
Yeah. It's, you have to burn your hand on the stove in order to know that it's hot.
Yeah. I like burn one and then check the other. You know? It's all right.
Yeah. I'm a fighter. I know the tolerance.
Yeah, there's no way it's gonna get me twice.
Yeah.
Yeah. Burnt? Yeah, dude.
Yeah.
The king of that.
I mean, it's wild. So how old are you now?
29.
29. So like, bro, I'm 36, and like, no matter how old you get, I don't know how you feel, but I'll just speak for myself here. Like, I always feel like I'm between the ages of 18 to 21 in my mind, no matter how old I get. And I'm just kind of like, oh, I have to play adult now. Like, I got to play adult.
Oh, dude, all the time.
Yeah.
I see people all the time. Like, I didn't sign up for this. Like, I would have just stayed a kid forever. We're gonna, like, yeah, I don't know what I'm doing half the time.
Yeah. Yeah. But like,
it's working.
Because you're, because you're a leader. It's like, all right, listen, so I'm going to go YouTube some shit real quick and I'll be right back.
Yeah, let me go check with somebody on Google and then we'll figure it out together. Yeah. All the time, dude.
Yeah. It's funny. I have a 16-year-old daughter and I have a 7-year-old son, and like sometimes they'll ask me shit and I'm like, that's a great question, kid. Let's Google it together and learn today. You know?
Dude, there's so much out there, man.
Yeah. So let's say, I guess this would be perfect because I'm sure you have plenty of fighters who've sat and talked to you about this, but if you were giving someone advice to start off the way you were starting off, and fighter or solar or family, whatever it is, what would you be your advice to them to get to your results but on their path, right? Like the stay at home, that's something that you hold dear, right? Now if you were to say something outside of that,
so I would say to find like-minded people with similar goals, find good leaders and good role models. Put yourself around people that you want to be like, because, the truth is you are who you surround yourself with, so if I was hanging out with 10 bums, I'm just a bum, and so I've been lucky with my coaches, and I've had, great coaches and black belts and Nate Lamont and Brad Caldwell and Sean Graham and all of these like phenomenal role models and people and structures in my life that I've been able to learn from and like grow from and stuff like that. So, same thing on the solar side of things. The owner of my company, Scott Johnson, he's awesome. I look up to him in a lot of ways outside of solar. We communicate almost every day about things that are not work related and life things. And, like I've learned a lot from him. So I think being around good leaders is super important. And like, don't ever put yourself somewhere where you don't feel loved. And like, that's like a very like weird thing that people don't understand. Like, if it's a martial arts school, if it's a job or a company, no matter what it is, if you're putting yourself somewhere where you don't feel loved, they're never going to have your best interest at heart. It's never going to produce the best outcome.
Right. It's funny you say this because I've had 2 interviews before you, and each time I've asked this question, they're like sphere of influence, the people around you, your 5 closest people.
Yeah, that's
like
it's true.
Yeah,
makes a huge difference.
Yeah. Now, was there a moment where you saw yourself leaving your old circle behind? Not necessarily like leaving them, but in the sense of like, I'm trying to grow. Like, was there a moment for you where you really noticed that?
I don't think there was realistically like a moment per se. I've kind of always just felt like I had different dreams and goals than most people, so like I had to kind of align differently. I couldn't think of anything specific offhand. It just kind of was one of those things like I knew if I want to be like the best fighter in the world, I want to go hang out with the fighters because that makes the most sense. And so for me, it was always pretty easy. But I've let go of a lot of friends. I've let go of a lot of people, and I still have nothing but love for them. And we're just not on the same path. I'm not going to see you all the time. Maybe we don't communicate all the time. Whatever it is, again, I go back to my mom. She said, life's like you're driving a bus. Sometimes people got to get off. Some new people can get on.
Yeah.
And I believe that. I've had friends.
That's a great quote.
It's just parts of their lives we just don't collide with, and then we're back to being close. Me and Derek didn't talk for a couple of years. I love him. We didn't have any falling out. We just didn't. We're at different points in our lives.
Right.
A couple of years we never talked. Now we're thick as thieves. Now I got to listen to him every day.
But he's over here asking me to look at him change.
Change, yeah. He's like, "Can I use your office to change?" No, we're in here, bud. That's probably why I wanted to use it. But yeah, I definitely think, I have realized that there have been many times in my life I've had to let people off the bus, to let different people on. And so like as they're leaving, I try not to take it personally or get upset or hold on to relationships that don't serve me anymore. I just, I just allow for space for new and better relationships to come forward.
Right. Hold on, I lost my question. So just two more questions I have here, and then cool. I don't know where the conversation will go. I have some family questions I want to ask, but that's always for me, like, because I relate to what you're going through.
Mm-hmm.
I always kind of think these are the moments where like you get to define yourself. It's truthfully like when you're alone is when you hear all of your thoughts.
Oh yeah, they don't stop.
So when you're in that moment, like, how do you manage the life lessons you're going through and trying to do? Like, how are you talking to yourself about everything?
So something that I realized very quickly after losing my father, because like obviously I don't know, like that's what we're referring to. I lost my father, a couple months ago. And like, as you know, me and my father were, best friends. That was, we went to concerts together, as we worked together, we did security together. I bartended with, he was a door guy. Like we were side by side, my whole life. And so like, I know that there are people that mourn, whether it be the relationship they have with him or things that they didn't get to say or do or experience with him, or they mourn a lot of things that, to their own dismay, that they caused. That they're mourning a regret. They're mourning I didn't get to tell him, I didn't. Like, I mourn the sadness. I mourn the love that him and I had. Like, I don't mourn. I took every excuse I could to hang out with him. We would go out drinking. We'd go out and shoot pool. Like, he hated shooting pool, actually. Like, it was the only time he never wanted to come, But like, he'd call me after class, be like, "You getting dinner? Let's go. Pick me up. I'm on my way." Like, like I'm so lucky to have all of the love that I've received from him, and the lessons and the moments and the times. And yeah, it sucks. There's no way it's not going to suck. My whole world crashed down in a minute. But like, how lucky am I that I had all those years of love? Like, it's almost like comical. Like, I see other people, and like, again, no knock on anybody. I respect any relationship with your parents you can have, but like, my parents are my best friends. Like, I'm fucking so lucky. My little brother, my parents. Yeah, it sucks. It hurts. I'll never be the same. And that's okay. I'm not supposed to be. Bad things happen. It's only how I move forward from here. And I'm mad he left, but I love him, and I know he loves me. I know he's proud of me. And at the end of the day, I don't regret or feel bad for not being able to tell him I love him or not. Last time I saw him, get him a hug and a kiss on the cheek, like every time I saw him. So I say it all the time, like, give people their flowers while they're here, and it like goes a long way. But like, I'm somebody who, if Derek calls me and I got a phone, I'm like, "I love you." Click. I'm not shy. I'm not like scared of my emotions or crying or being, like, hey, like, I'm fucking human, and I hurt like everybody else, and I do feel more blessed than the average for the relationship that I have with my father. And so in my roughest moments, I have all those memories, all those moments. Like, I know he walks with me. I know he's with me. Yeah, not physically. Yeah, it sucks. I can't call him. I can't bug him. I still pay for his phone bill. He'd be turning right now if you heard me say it. But I'm paying for your phone bill. I know that there was so much love. And I can't feel bad for myself for that. So I just try to pick myself up, be the person that he believed me to be, and the person I am. Keep moving. That's all I can do. Like, my world may have stopped. My mom, our world may have stopped, but the world doesn't. And it's a harsh reality. It's very sad. I same thing with your father, man. It breaks my heart. I feel bad for anybody, because it's not something you couldn't prepare for it. You couldn't be ready. I don't care how tough you are. It's a defining moment in your life. We joked about growing up. I grew up that minute. It's the truth, and that's okay. Again, it's reality. I'm not hiding from it. But in those moments, in my worst moments, I just like, I have my mom, I have my little brother. I know he loved me. I know he's with me. Like, I don't need much more. It's pretty simple at that point.
And
fuck.
I'm trying to keep it together here. So
we throw me the tissues behind you.
Yeah, I got you.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah. Damn. People are gonna be texting me about this one. Yo, they got you crying.
Well, I mean, look, bro. As someone who I made a video. I don't know if Joey ever showed it to you with your pops or whatever. And like, I remember watching the videos of your dad on the bike or your dad cheering for you on the fights. And I was like, damn, I didn't have that relationship. So like, I envy everything you're saying right now. So like, I don't know, man, that type of love, I feel like he definitely felt every single day from you. So it coming through the way you're saying it is, it's beautiful, man. Like in a dark, obviously I get it's a dark place, but like it's very, I think it'll inspire the people around you to see how much love you still, like you pay for the cell phone.
He's still my best friend, you know?
Yeah.
It doesn't change overnight.
Yeah. All right, I'll ask this one and it might fuck both of us up, but like,
it's all right. I live here, buddy. Don't worry.
Yeah, I mean,
it's a daily.
Yeah. Anything you would have said?
Nothing I didn't tell him every day. I would just tell him I love him, tell him I'm proud of him. Give him a kiss on the cheek. Have him call me handsome one more time. That's it. You know? That's what I mean. Like, I really am blessed. Cause, like, I told him every day I loved him. I told him every day, you know, how important he was. He knew. We're sneaking in at 50 Cent concerts over the summer. Like, he knew. Like, you know, like, I can't tell you how many videos and pictures I have from me and him back, you know, when you're DJing and we're dancing. And you know, like, not because, like, I have to be. You know, I wanted to be there. He wanted me there. He wanted to be there. Like, you know? Yeah, I think I just tell him I love him. Give him a kiss on the cheek. Yeah.
All right.
Tell him I'm mad, pissed, but you know, I'm digging out here. But otherwise, yeah, it's pretty simple.
All right, to just I guess change gears so we don't end on.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So, is there any upcoming news of a fight? Is there? You know, like I've been trying to follow it, try to get. Like, I was trying to gauge, you know, some of your coaches and just like, hey, does he have a good day? What is he going on? And like, how you feeling about
I feel
it?
good.
You know, like
I feel excited. You know, especially like leading off of that, it's a different experience that I'm gonna walk into. So I have more anxiety than I normally would. I have more, but it's not about the fight. You know, I'm not. I will be signing a contract this week. I will be fighting May 24th. Cat's out of the bag. They posted today.
Nice.
You know, so you can't stop it once they start it.
Yeah.
And it's cool. You know, I know from my growth, it's what I have to do. You know, and it's gonna be fun. It's gonna be cool. It's gonna be different. You know, it's gonna come with its own. It's gonna come with its own hard minutes. You know, and I know he'll be with me. You know, I'm gonna do everything that he would want me to do to prepare and be ready and be in shape and show up. You know,
Be a fucking gorilla, man.
Yeah, that's all I can do. You know.
Bro, thank you so much for your time. I appreciate it, man.
Of course, man. Thanks for having me.
Yeah. All right, everybody. Jake Pilla. I'll put all his social media stuff up. You'll see it. Make sure you follow him. Got a fight coming soon. He'll be kicking some fucking ass. That's it. Have a good one.
Peace.